Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So on the agenda tonight we have John Denver, and this is going to be coming from 1977 in Australia, and he's going to be playing through his classic track Leaving on a Jet Plane. So let's get John up on screen and see how he gets on.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. The taxi's waiting, he's blown his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. There's so many times I let you down, so many times I played around. I tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I'll think of you. Every song I sing, I'll sing for you. When I come back, I'll bring your wedding ring. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Now the time's come to leave you.
I'm just going to jump in here. This is another one of those tracks that you don't want to interrupt, and I suggest you just watch it the whole way through. Again, the link's going to be in the description of this video, so you can just listen to it the whole way through. But I just want to point out a few things about John. I mean, when he sings, his voice is just absolutely locked in. You can just listen to it and relax, because you know that vocally, he's just going to be on it all the time. And every video that I've seen of John, vocally, he's just stellar. John had that one thing that so many singers-songwriters share, which is this unique quality to their voice. It's that perfect mix of tone, expression, and control that means it's just their voice telling the story, and their story that you're connecting to as an audience. And here, that control of vibrato that John's got, he pretty much places it at the end of his vocal lines, but then he will actually do vocal lines with no vibrato, just phrases that he'll throw in there. And this is what you'll find, is that singer-songwriters have this ability to stand out from the crowd, whereas when you might look at other genres of music, you might have vocalists that actually start to sound the same. They've got the same quality to their voice. They might start to prefer certain runs and trills with their voice, and this is why I still think in different genres of music, when a singer has a unique voice, that is going to be better than somebody who's got a great voice that is generic. It's having that personal quality, that unique quality that stands out and sets people apart. And this track and John Denver as a singer has that ability. And you can test it with all the great singer-songwriters. Put one great singer-songwriter next to another one, play the tracks after each other, and you'll never find that their vocals sound the same. It's an impossibility because they just have such a unique expression and emotion and technique with their vocal that they never overlap. Another one of his huge tracks was Take Me Home Country Roads, and that he got help with the writing with Bill Danoff and Taffy Nivert. But I wanted to have a look at this video because Leaving on a Jet Plane is just all of John's own work, and out of roughly 300 tracks that he released, over 200 of those he wrote himself. So he was very much involved in the writing and wrote single-handed the vast majority of the songs that he released. And in the context of this performance as an all-round artist, you can see here John's playing fingerstyle. He's got that thumb pick on that right hand and he's just picking out these sequences. Again, I always say it doubles the difficulty playing and singing, but you can up that difficulty a little bit more for that fingerstyle that's involved at the same time. So these singer-songwriters that were really at the top of their game, all you needed to do was give them a guitar and they would give you an absolutely spellbinding performance, and they could just take your attention for the whole 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Let's check out the rest of this performance.
One more time, let me kiss you and close your eyes. I'll be on my way. Dream about the days to come when I won't have to leave alone, about the times I won't have to say, oh, kiss me and smile for me, tell me that you'll wait for me, hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. I'm leaving on a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Good night, my friends. God bless you all.
And there it is. As you can see, the video is just about to cut out, but the great thing about John and his singing, I mean, it's that perfect combination of the vocal quality and the lyrics and that story all blending together. But one thing about John's voice that is just absolutely insanely good is his tone throughout his range. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when a singer starts to get to the top of their range, you can start to hear them push, and they might lose control of that to the point where it becomes distorted and they might get a gravelly sound. Whereas John, even getting right at the top there with that vocal ad-lib right at the end, was still that same tone, that same clarity, that same quality to his vocal. It's something that again makes his voice unique, makes it totally different. When you've got somebody that's this good, everything just complements each other in the track, in the composition, in the writing, in the storytelling. It's just all absolutely A1 and just great to listen to. And like I said before, just so captivating that you just listen to it the whole way through and just love listening to that story again and again. People might associate this track mostly with Peter, Paul and Mary because they did a version of this, released it, and it did really well for them. But of course, this is a John Denver track, and it was originally going to be called Baby, I Hate to Go. But John's producer actually convinced him to change the title to Leaving on a Jet Plane. Just quickly on that, Peter, Paul and Mary, when they did release their version of this track, it went to #1, and it was the only track that they've ever had that got to that top spot. And that in the USA was top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart, but it also got to #1 in the UK and #2 in Ireland. There's a little bit of controversy here as well because a band called New Order released a track called called Run 2, and that's got a little guitar line in that sounds pretty much like Leaving on a Jet Plane. So John got in touch with them, actually started a lawsuit against them, but that was all sorted out of court. So I think the band understood that, yeah, it was pretty similar, pretty much identical, and they sorted it out between them and John. I just want to mention quickly, having looked at so many great singer-songwriters recently on the channel, about how hard it is to write a song, to write a great song. And it is, in its own right, an art form, just being able to do that, because there are so many top musicians out there and top technical musicians that have really worked at their art of actually playing an instrument and being able to communicate through that instrument. But being able to communicate through a song, through melody, through lyrics, is a whole different ballgame. And I have said it before about great players who can never write a song because it's a totally different skill set. It's something that you almost can't learn, because if you could, everyone would write a hit and everyone would be a millionaire because everyone's just churning out hit after hit after hit. So the people that do write hits continuously, or at least quite regularly, those are the people that are always in demand all across the industry, because it is so difficult. There's no formula to it. You've just almost got to have an ear for it. You've got to have an almost natural ability for melody and expression and connection. When he was young, he moved around quite a lot with his family because his dad was a pilot, and his dad actually taught John to fly planes as well. But John didn't have a nucleus of friends that he had. He didn't have best friends. When he wanted to have friends, I think he just went outside and he became friends with nature. Nature was where he found that relationship. Also, when John did become famous, he loved interacting with people, because that's all he ever wanted, was to have lots of friends and to be loved by a lot of people, and he certainly had that. So John was one of those guys that had absolutely so much time, endless time for his fans. He'd always talk to them and sign autographs and have pictures taken with them, because he loved that social interaction with other people. Another interesting fact is that in 1984, John wrote the track The Golden Beyond for the Winter Olympics, and he performed that, but then also, even more interestingly, he was actually a commentator on the skiing, because skiing was another thing that John just loved to do. And it's great that he has such a wide skill set, not only singing, playing, writing, but also ski commentary. John did so much humanitarian work as well, including going out to Africa and actually meeting with the leaders out there to try and find a solution to the starvation that was going on there and still does to this day, unfortunately. But also closer to home in the USA, in the 70s and the 80s, he'd always be putting on gigs and doing shows for charity, trying to just raise money any way he could, and also actually donating a lot of his earnings to individual charities. Another interesting thing with John's interest in flight, but also space and space exploration, he got involved with NASA, and he actually completed the physical exam, which is rigorous, by the way, to be one of the first citizens to be going up into space. And that was in 1985 is when he passed it, and he was a finalist for the flight in 1986, but he didn't get chosen. Of course, unfortunately, we all know what happened in 1986 with the Challenger disaster, and John, being so close to that whole process, wrote a song and dedicated that to all the families involved, and that was called Flying for Me. John just had this passion for exploration and flight, and unfortunately that's how he left us, in a plane crash where he was the only person on the plane. He was flying it, and I think the problem that arose was that the model of plane that he was flying had a fuel switch that wasn't in the normal place. It was actually behind the seat. It all seems a bit stupid from what I've read, that you can only see the amount of fuel in the plane behind you, so only the people sitting in the back will be able to tell you how much fuel's in the plane. But anyway, I think it was a new design of plane that he was either trying out or didn't have a lot of experience of, and before they took off, they had a bit of trouble changing this fuel tank switch that was behind where John was sitting. It's not one of those stories of the pilot not having enough experience or anything like that, because John had at the time 2,700 hours of flight experience. The main cause that was found in the investigation was the placement of this fuel tank switch, and I think during the day John was practicing taking off and landing on the airstrip, and he did that a few times. So then before he left on his main journey, they looked over him and a mechanic, and he asked the mechanic how much fuel's left, and the mechanic told him about half in one tank and about a quarter in the other tank. John said, I'm only going to be flying for about an hour, so it will be okay. But in order to get all of that fuel and to use all of that fuel meant that John would have had to have changed this switch, this fuel tank switch, which was in a really awkward position. And even before he took off, he was using some pliers or something to try and reach behind to get to this switch because it's almost inaccessible. And John said to the mechanic he'll put the plane into autopilot, which means that he can then turn around and then switch the fuel tanks. And unfortunately, I think just while John was flying, it just didn't work out, that the one tank was empty and he was trying to switch it over, but he just couldn't do it because it was so inaccessible. It always normally would be in front of the pilot because it is such an important part of flying. If you need to get fuel from another tank, it is normally in front of the pilot, whereas this being a newer plane and also John not having a lot of experience flying this plane, it was in a weird position. It's just something that's out of the ordinary that would take a bit of practice to get used to, and just finding it in the first place, it just seemed like just everything conspired against John on that day, that just meant, unfortunately, that he was to leave us early, and he was only 53 at the time. His ashes have been spread over the Rocky Mountains, so he's back with nature, and that's just the place that he loved to be since childhood. But he did so much for so many people, just an inspiration, a fantastic humanitarian, but also a fantastic singer, songwriter, performer, and storyteller as well. So John Denver, what a legend, and it's great that we have these videos and all of those songs that we can listen back to in his memory. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!